There we go. So this will just be for obviously just record keeping purposes. So I'm going to share my screen and jump off with the, let me just make sure I'm not jumping off on the wrong slide and giving away all the good stuff like the election results. Let me just jump back here and there we go. That looks good. Slideshow from the start. Okay, welcome everybody to our AGM that we're having as an association. Obviously, with COVID upsetting all the things and the first conference not taking place in 2020 like we'd hoped, it kind of pushed this all out a bit later than we would have liked, but here we are. So it's a historical event for those of you that are actually here. So thank you for being present. Essentially, what we're going to be covering in this period is just obviously welcome by myself, some updates in terms of memberships, how many people who've joined. We've had quite a nice uptake towards the end of last year, the fees and our expansion, the webinars, the previous conference, just some feedback on that. And of course, what we're looking at for 2022, as required by the Constitution, an overview of the financial status of the association. And of course, right at the end, hopefully keeping that at the end so you'll stay present, is the actual voting results from the our first election of board members. So obviously, I'm just going to do the welcoming. Thanks, everybody. As you know, in July 2019, we had the sort of founder meeting where we called a bunch of people to Old Mutual's offices in Sandton and said, do we kind of have a mandate by the people attending for us to actually go ahead and form the association? And that was overwhelmingly attended and a positive sort of vote to sort of continue. And the people who were sort of initially involved became the first board, not by election. And that's why this is what's happened recently is very important. And I think we've come a long way. Obviously, as you know, we had the first conference in November 2021, which I'll get into in a few more details. We've developed a constitution, which we looked at the various associations, what they have in terms of their bylaws. They obviously call them different things depending on the association. We opted for the name Constitution. That's sort of up on the website. Membership has grown a lot. And as I said, now the first AGM and of course the first elected board. So quite a lot of exciting things. And I think important things in the development of any association of this nature going forward with the natural changes that sort of take place as we develop. Okay, in terms of membership, Bron, are you in a position to take over and say a few things about the membership?
Sure, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Okay. Perfect. So, afternoon, everyone.
Welcome.
As per the slide, I think just to kind of talk a little bit about memberships first, I think a number of you over the last year had a lot of difficulties with your membership application, and I just want to apologize for that. We did then kind of change the people who were hosting our website in the hopes of making membership applications a little bit of a smoother process, and there was really quite a long teething process involved with that. So apologies for that if you did have a frustration with regards to your membership or membership renewals. Thank you for staying with us over the last year, and we hope that a lot of that's been ironed out. So currently, the association has 67 members, 47 individual members. We are still seeing a huge majority of our membership from South Africa, 3 members from the US, and of course that's something that we want to grow, not only our membership, but specifically across Africa as the African Association of Threat Assessment Professionals, and that will be an undertaking for the new board in terms of how we think about that. We currently have 20 corporate members made up by ABSA. And in terms of our annual fee for membership, at this point in time, it's still 1,500 Rand until such time as a discussion can be had with the board regarding any changes to the annual fees. So that's where we're at in terms of membership. And as I said, just an apology to those of you who did struggle, and thank you for sticking it out. So thanks, Gerard.
Great. And part of that, as we did mention, I think it's some of the AusMed talks, we had shifted to a different system for managing our memberships, and the platform and the website was upgraded and integrated. So, there were some hiccups there, but I think we've, as Bronwyn said, we've got that nailed down to a more fluid process. And obviously, I'd just like to call on everybody that, to please, if you interact with anybody from colleagues, if you work in an organization, just to people you might meet in your daily activities in a line of work you have, and there are people from Africa, please, just take that opportunity to punt the association, send them a link to the website, the membership, the general website link, or to the memberships, or to the webinars. I think the webinars that we present, the AusMed webinars, is a great way to get people to start be interested in the association and what we have to offer. So really, we would like all of you to make that effort, if you're interacting with people from Africa, to spread the news about what AfATAP can potentially offer them. And that's the only way really we're going to grow our membership outside of South Africa's borders, which, like as Bronwyn said, we're the African Association, not the South African Association. So that's going to be very, very important as time goes by. I don't know if there's anybody that has any questions at this point in time about the membership issue. You're welcome to quickly open up your camera and pose a question. I'll just give a few seconds if anybody wants to do that. No need to feel shy. You can still do that if you want to, but in the meantime, I'll just sort of say the corporate membership, we finally opened that up towards the end of last year. So essentially what that is that the corporate pays a fixed amount and can then sign up to 20 people for that period of their membership. In that year, they can obviously, if someone resigns, they can replace that person with a new person, but that corporate membership lasts pretty much from the moment they pay for the membership for a year. And it does, it was obviously, if you have a large organization, it is a way to get a lot of your people obviously on board, and it works out a lot cheaper in the end than paying for individual membership. So that's something that you can also perhaps mention to associations, organizations, that is something that's available. All right. Any questions before I move on? Good. Okie dokes. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty, in terms of the webinars, I think this is something that AfATAP can really be very proud of. By my calculations, we've been the Thread Association that has actually produced the most content on a regular basis pretty much since the whole pandemic started, and we'll continue to do that because it's a great way of reaching people all over the world. And as up until recently, almost all of that content has been free for people. We've changed it this year that people now will pay 200 Rand, which is like $13 US, for any of these workshops or webinars, unless you are a member of any one of the associations. So we give reciprocity to any, whether you're ATAP, KTAP in Canada, ETAP in Europe, AfATAP in Asia, etc. Any of those members who are officially paid members can attend our webinars for free, and that's primarily because they tend to give similar reciprocity when they host webinars for our members to attend. So it definitely allows our members to get a wider range of free content, or at least discounted content if it's something more than just a short webinar. So I think we can be really proud that we've kind of, I can almost get the sense that other associations have realized they have to start doing something similar. So I think in that sense, we're a bit of a trendsetter, I'd like to think. So we did 11 last year. I think there was more in the year before, because the previous year, 2020, we were doing every 2 weeks. That just became a very, very heavy workload to coordinate. So we shifted it in 2021 to every third week, just to make it a bit easier to actually coordinate. So 11 last year and more in the year prior to it. The 4 that are already up on the website for people to register for this year, starting next week, is the Stalking and Professionals, a scoping review, and that's by Calvin Jitazi from, he lives in Australia. He's actually originally from Zimbabwe. Then on 10th of March, On Our Way Out, Using Safe Termination Strategies by Michelle Calhoun, who's actually online with us, Michelle. And that's about, obviously, how do we deal with people who we are expecting potential problems with, and security suddenly phones you and says, oh, we'd like you guys involved, because either because the person was a threat problem, that's why they've been fired, or after being told they're going to be fired, they became a bit of a threat problem. So that's an interesting one, I think, for HR, labor lawyers, etc., and obviously threat assessors, psychologists to be aware of. and something that you can then offer as a service to your clients. So very important. 31 March, cyber threats in South Africa. That's Danny Myberg, who, as many of us in the industry in South Africa know, I think started up the SAP's cyber investigation unit, and he'll be focusing a lot more on the insider threat issue. So we'll touch on the international syndicates, but more on the insider threat, the guy that's about to be fired, the guy who was fired, or the guy who's still employed, or Bob, and is a potential threat to the association. So building on a lot of what we saw at the conference. And then the fourth one in this particular series, when the actual investigator becomes the target of threatening behavior. So something we don't always consider necessarily. That's by Glenn French from Canada. So a lot of interesting stuff lined up. And of course, please do suggest titles, or if you yourselves want to present something, a case study, or whatever it may be, please propose that to the board. You know, otherwise we might always be thinking what we think is great, and that might not necessarily reflect our members' views on what they would like to see or hear. So it's very important we do get that feedback from, and also that we do start to see AfATAP members like Michelle and other people presenting, and not just always hearing in non-members presenting stuff. So I think we've done quite well there. Any comments or questions about the AusMed stuff? Good, all right. Okay. In terms of the conferences, just in terms of the one we did in November, as I said, that was our first one. It had to be online because of the circumstances. We had a total of 132 registrations, which I think I did say at the end of the conference, that exceeded the Asia Pacific's registrations for their conference last year. And AfATAP has been around for numerous years. So I think we're quite, I think we can be quite proud of that. And I think it comes very close to the European Association's in-person conference attendance numbers. So I think that's pretty cool. I think we can be quite chuffed with that. I know a lot of the associations started off literally with 5 or 10 people getting together, and we've been very fortunate that we've kind of almost jumped that hurdle from the start, having quite a lot of people involved. So 110 of those were from members from either AfATAP or any of the other associations. As you recall, we allowed any association member to attend our conference for free. So we're the first to actually have done that. And then we had non-members, those people who weren't a member of any association who signed up, and then speakers who signed up, obviously, and the staff. But the top bits make up that 132 people. So I think that was really great. And the map on the right, you can kind of see where our attendees came from. And of course, sadly, nobody else from Africa. So that, again, is something we really want to punt and promote, that we get people coming from outside of South Africa, but in Africa's borders to attend the conference, and that'll come with time, but we obviously have to actively push that from our side. In terms of the feedback, we're really great to have a fantastic professional conference organizing committee and company running this for us, and they were able to monitor feedback and the surveys, and they've said that they very rarely have such high positive satisfaction rates amongst people attending a conference of any nature. So they really just commented that really reflects we did quite a good job. And again, having them involved really helped us make it look very professional. And of course, the speakers were phenomenal. And then as we did sort of a spot live poll, what did people find are the most beneficial benefits by being an AfATAP member? And the journal was found to be quite high up there, the top ranked thing of one of the benefits, which as I said, people get every four times a year, the Journal of Threat Assessment and Management, and it's online for all the back editions. Access to information such as previous recorded AusMed talks. And again, I think that comes back to the fact that we have produced so much content that's now online for our members to access whenever they want. And if you join now, if you weren't a member, you'd get, again, all the ones that we had permission to record are on there, as will be the conference recordings from last year. We just have to, I know everybody who attended the conference, you would have gotten the link allowing you to access it on the conference website, but we are also going to be uploading those, all the conference talks onto the AfATAP website also for those who want to view it later on. So that's, I think, again, the benefits. The discounted free attendance for future conferences was the 3rd highest ranked, and then networking opportunities. And of course, the sooner we can go back to having face-to-face conferences, that's when really people do network immensely and really build up a kind of emotional bond to the association. It's very difficult to bond emotionally to something that's completely online, that you kind of just log in every now and then and log out. So that's understandable, and I think those networking opportunities will come. All right. Going to jump ahead. And for 2022 conference, we had a board meeting this Monday past. We are leaning towards holding a face-to-face conference, and we will have that as our first choice, if at all possible in terms of the pandemic, to have a face-to-face conference this year. Most likely the venue is going to be in Johannesburg. Tiny little chance it'll be in Cape Town, but I think the more realistic option will be in Johannesburg, in and around Joburg. Sponsorships, again, the board is actively looking for sponsorships. Michael Pino, our other board member, is very great in doing that, and he knows the right people that he can really phone up and kind of nudge and prod to give out money. So we're very thankful to Michael and the other board members who also have sort of those abilities to phone the right people and say, hey, put your money where your mouth is. So I'm pretty confident that we will get enough money to host a fantastic conference that'll allow us to keep any registration fees very low and to, of course, bring out great speakers for our people. The issue of a hybrid conference where you have obviously in person, but you also have, like we had last year, the capability of people logging in from anywhere. That actually almost doubles the cost of a conference. We were all very surprised to hear that your online conferences are very expensive. They are not as expensive as a face-to-face in-person, but they are just about very, very close to being as expensive. There's a phenomenal amount of tech issues that you're not even aware of until you start to organize one of these things. So we'll look definitely at the face-to-face, and again, we'll look at whether it's worthwhile also trying to add on the online component to that, and that it will pretty much depend on our budget. So we'll keep everybody up to date, and the kind of sponsorship range of fees we're looking at would be between 500,000 and 750,000 to do this properly. That's Rand, obviously. As we were very fortunate last year, we got 500,000 from ABSA. I'll get into the money issue just now. So I do think, yes, we'll be able to reach that. But of course, we also ask anybody here that if you yourself or your company wants to get involved as a sponsor, whether it's sponsoring a lunch or a particular session, there are various ways that people can also give smaller amounts and be recognized for their sponsorship. So that's just something to think about. But if any conference has to already be started organizing now. So even though November's far away, it's not far away in the world of conference organization. Any comments or questions regarding this? Michelle, did you attend the recent ATAP winter conference in person?
I did, and good morning, everybody. Oh, morning for me. I didn't attend in person. I was also speaking and delivering the presentation that you mentioned. And it was just so good to be back in person with everybody. This was also, I think, the largest attended winter conference, as ATAP has tried to enhance that over the years. So I think there are over 600 people there, and they had to cap attendance. But it was very well attended, just a phenomenal program that they put together, and it was good to see everybody.
Yeah, and that's the small conference. I mean, the big one in LA is usually capped at, I think, 1,200 people, and they reached that cap. So yeah, so goals that we have to aspire to, but I've never been to a winter one. It seems to be always in Orlando, Florida at Disneyland, as is the Los Angeles one. So definitely, for various reasons, always fun to go to these conferences. So yeah, so great to hear that. All righty, so that's the conference stuff. And what do we have? The financial overview, because obviously the AGM is required to give at least some information to the attendees regarding the financial status of the association. So this is the three columns represent the 3 years that AfTAP has been in operation. Obviously, we started towards the end of 2019, I think, opening up the bank account, or the beginning of 2020. So there was not much happening in the initial first year, obviously. Then in early 2020, this is obviously the end of the financial year. So it's the year leading up to 28 February 2021, for example. We got the ABSA sponsorship. That was just before COVID hit. I think we literally got the sponsorship right before COVID lockdown started in South Africa. So that kind of sat on our books up until now. So at the moment, if you look at the bottom right-hand, or the right-hand column, is the total of everything, income and expenses. And you can see the majority of the expenses were conference related, that they were, though, covered by the sponsorship. So at the end of this, our bank account was sitting on 370,000. Sorry, I sound like Jacob Zuma reading my numbers here. Of which I just want to point out, 191,000 has to go back to ABSA because that's the excess from the sponsorship that was not used. So essentially in our bank account, we're sitting on 72,447 Rand and 57 cents. So not bad for a fledgling association. And obviously these will be used for things such as we have to pay JTAM, the journal. Actually, we got our most recent invoice. So we have to pay them for the subscription for each member that gets the online journal. I think it's roughly like 14,000 Rand. I just want to confirm their figures are correct. And other things, for example, last year we spent redoing the website, getting the sort of the new system set up. So last year that was quite a biggish expense for us. So besides that, the association doesn't really have a lot of expenses. Obviously, all the board members serve voluntarily, etc. We don't have any full-time staff that we need to remunerate. So it really is website-related items and conference and the JTAM journal subscription that really is what we are spending our money on. And any questions before I shift off this slide? Okay. We are all tax compliant. So we do have a certificate of good standing from the Revenue Service. There's the PIN number that obviously people can check up on how we're doing. So we are all compliant. A bookkeeper was appointed to make sure that we are obviously keeping our records and they are processing them for us. So in that sense, we are, I think, compliant with all that is expected of us in terms of law and, of course, just, decent, good practices of the association. All right. Then the voting results. I think this is probably what most people were hoping to hear. And I think, firstly, it's amazing that we're in a position that we can vote. Obviously, the more members we get, the more we can have people standing for positions and contributing and voting. And I think if I was just quickly asking some of the other associations what their voter turnout is, and let's just say that we had a better turnout than some of the other associations, they tend to find not a lot of people actually vote. So I think it's great that for such a small association, we did have the amount of people voting that did participate. And of course, thank you to all those who were nominating individuals to serve and also those who were prepared to be nominated. I actually think it's really amazing that we had quite a lot of people who obviously weren't existing board members who were willing to get involved. And I think that was quite nice and touching to see that it shows me that people see value in it and want to see it grow. And I think that's really amazing. So for those that didn't get positions, I really, really hope you're going to stay involved. And there's so many ways to be involved in the association that don't require you to be a board member. Organizing the conference, it requires a lot more people to be involved. There's the social media side of things. There's various ways that people can play an important role without officially being a board member per se. So please do consider that or run it again. I think an association needs to change with time and needs to have new people and new ideas. So, the boards must change with time. I think that's very important. So it's great, as I said, to see people taking an interest in the future of the association. And as I said, hopefully you'll still be involved in the way forward. So yes, so I think the next slide is the actual results. So as I mentioned, these were all sent to the bookkeeper. So we didn't have nobody on the AfATAP board played any role in counting votes, etc. It was all, as you saw, the email address was directly to our bookkeepers, who then collated, confirmed that everybody was actually a member that voted. And the results will be on the next slide, if I recall correctly. Okay, so I was the only person nominated for president, so thank you for those that nominated me. In terms of vice president, there were a few people running, as you saw. Michael Pinar was then elected. He was a board member. He was elected as the vice president. Willie Miela, who was a board member, was appointed in the position of treasurer. Bronwyn, who was a board member, was appointed in the position of secretary. And what's nice to see, we do have two new members who've joined us, Wanda Mashlatsi and Chantel Waldeck. Their bios are on that email that was sent to everybody with the voting ballot. So if you can read more details, both are based in Johannesburg. Wanda's area is primarily in security for currently, I think, the city of Johannesburg, and protecting, I think, members of the city council, if I'm not mistaken. And Chantel is a psychologist doing forensic work at one of our state-run psychiatric hospitals. And both have been involved for a very, very long time in AfATAP and attending the meetings, etc. So it's really nice to see they've made themselves open. So thank you for all of those that did put themselves forward and were prepared to put themselves out there for election purposes. And please, 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 I hope that means that you're going to stay actively involved and, as I said, continue running again. So this board will serve a little bit shorter. It'll be just under 2 years, obviously, until next year, 2023's conference. So we'll then run the elections with the conference from now on, just for circumstances that didn't take place this year. So please do consider this. It may seem like a long time, but it's not a long time in terms of when your opportunities to run again. And I think the more people see you participating in the various things, the more people will get to know you, because we haven't had that opportunity to have the face-to-face interactions. It's really just been the Zoom platforms, etc. So, you know, as I said, if anybody wants to do things like hosting one of the OSMET webinars, that's a great way to get your face out there for people to get to know you and become familiar with you. So thank you for everybody for participating in the voting. I don't know if there's any comments or questions. So these are our two new board members, in case you haven't seen their pictures before. And of course, to thank the two members who won't be continuing as board members, Rory Steyn and Andrew Kelly, who again have been there from the start and were sort of central to actually getting this up and running in terms of an association. And we'll still be hearing from them and hoping they'll still be playing roles in various capacities in AfATAP, and hopefully maybe running again in the future if they feel their time and schedule allows them to do that. Of course, when we started, it was 7 of us, including the 2 you see here, Rory and Andrew. It was also Jocelyn Swartz, who was one of our 2 VPs, but who had to stand down. I think it was during the beginning of last year because of the change of her role in her place of employment. So we'll see. At the moment, 6 board members in total, and if things become challenging, we might find in the future that there might be more board members, and the Constitution does allow that there can be, I think, up to 4 general board members besides those fixed positions of president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And I think as the association grows and becomes more busy and there's various things we have to take care of, there is a possibility of expanding that to more generalized board members. So thank you for everybody, because if it wasn't for all the board members, past and present participation, we wouldn't be where we are today as an association that's really sort of getting everybody's attention. Okay, before I do just a quick closing, anybody who would like to chip in and make any last minute comments or questions about anything that's been discussed so far?
Hey, Gerard, I would just like to thank everybody for welcoming me into the association. Part of my motivation for participating is not only because I care about threat assessment and management, and I know some of you in the association, but our family will be moving to Africa. And I'm really interested in being in the community with you all as we all continue to do this work. So anything that I can do to help you all, just let me know. So thank you for the warm welcome.
Thanks, Michelle. And that's going to be really great to have someone in sort of in the Kenya area to refer people to, that if there's issues that need to be dealt with. And of course, to hopefully help promote the AfATAP message in that particular area. It always makes it very helpful that there is someone physically with your level of experience in that assessment, which probably exceeds mine. It's great to have someone with that level of experience out there and who has played a role in helping run associations before. So that's really, really a great contact that I think a lot of us can be leaning on in the future. So thanks, Michelle. Willie, I see you've on-camera yourself. Is that?
Yeah, no. I think it was just to greet everyone, and as again going over to the new board, coming from the previous one, after all the votes, I thought it was just fair to come and greet everyone and hoping for the best. Obviously, COVID-19 has put us on the back foot, Hence, it's always difficult. We don't know each other. We have never met. And that's why even the voting was much of a challenge. But as you have mentioned, this year's conference, we are planning to have it face-to-face. That's the plan which we are having, to have it around Johannesburg, if all goes according to the plan. But obviously, since we are having the new board members who will be joining us, obviously we need to finalize, the details there. But nonetheless, looking forward to participate in the board going forward as a treasurer. Thanks very much, man.
Thanks very much, Willie. Chantal, I see your hand is raised.
Hi, everybody. It's Chantal speaking. I just want to say thank you very, very much for allowing me this opportunity to serve on the board. It's going to be a wonderful experience, and I'm so looking forward to work with a high caliber of people that are on this board as well as in the association. So thank you once again to everyone, and I look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. And always nice to have, as the board grows and the association grows, different people from different professions getting involved and representing the different areas that are very relevant to threat assessment. So fantastic, Michelle. Thank you. Chantal, sorry. Okay, any last comments or contributions that anybody would like to make? Besides my son sneezing in the background. Well, thank you very much. I think that is my last slide. Let me just double check. Yep, that was my last slides. So thank you very much for taking the time to be here, taking the time to vote. And again, as I said, I think it's going to be a great year for AfATAP. We'll see you at the AusMet talks. Please, please, please register for those and spread the word about those. And thank you for your participation. And I think we're going to not disappoint you as a board taking this association forward. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.